Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a courtroom where, well, empathy often seems to win out over the rigid rules, where a judge's compassion actually becomes this global phenomenon. Today, we're diving deep into the really quite extraordinary legacy of Judge Frank Caprio. He recently passed away at 88 after battling pancreatic cancer. And you've almost certainly seen his clips, right, from Caught in Providence. That show was nationally syndicated, I think, in like 186 cities. It brought his unique approach to justice into millions of homes, billions of views worldwide. It's incredible. So our mission for this deep dive, really, is to explore how Judge Caprio kind of redefined what a courtroom could even be. We want to look at his philosophy of empathy as equity. This idea that, true fairness needs compassion, needs understanding of people's actual lives and how that challenges traditional legal thinking. We're pulling from quite a stack of sources here. News articles about his passing, celebrating his life, actual court transcripts from memorable cases, tons of social media tributes from people just really moved by him, and even an academic paper looking at emotional intelligence in law.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is how Judge Caprio didn't just, rule on cases. He connected with people. That academic source actually calls it therapeutic judgments. It's this idea that the judgment itself displays care and empathy for the people involved. It goes beyond just the legal outcome. He really seemed to live by that mantra he learned from his father. The smallest thing can change someone's life. Which, raises a big question for us. In a system that often feels so strict, so impersonal, how much impact can one person's compassionate approach truly have? Is it just individual, or can it shift things more broadly?
That's a huge question, yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe the stories themselves give us some clues. Let's get into some of those stories from our sources, because they really show his method.
Yeah.
Take the Philomena Fund, right? Named after his mother. It apparently started with just a spontaneous $25 donation from a viewer who wanted to help a single mom in court that day.
Wow, just $25.
Yeah, and it grew into this fund he could use right there on the bench.
Yeah.
You look at cases like Medina Beja. Our sources say she was homeless, living in her car, had only $5 to her name. Judge Caprio used that fund to clear her fines, yes, but then he also gave her cash for food, directly addressing her, immediate human need.
Right. It wasn't just about the ticket anymore.
Exactly. Or think about those moments with kids that went viral, like Justina, the 3-year-old, who kept grabbing the gavel and shouting guilty about her mom.
Oh, I remember that one.
Or the little girl whose sentence for her mother was just breakfast.
And those moments, they weren't just for show. They weren't just feel-good clips for the internet, though they certainly were that too. They actually demonstrate something important that our academic source talks about.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence in judging. It's not just about being nice. It's about how that empathy, that willingness to listen, can actually help expose and maybe mitigate implicit biases that can lead to really unfair outcomes, especially for, marginalized groups.
How so? How does that work?
Well, by taking the time for those extended conversations, like Caprio often did, he was almost forced to consider the socioeconomic factors, the life circumstances, that a really rigid, just letter of the law approach might totally ignore.
Ah, okay, I see.
So it pushes past the surface level. And this really sparked, or at least highlighted, a crucial discussion in the legal world, right? That balance between the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. And you can see how his own life experiences fed into this, like him serving in the Army Reserve. It seemed to give him this real affinity for veterans, a deeper understanding maybe. You see it in his compassion.
Like that case with Elmer, the Vietnam vet.
Exactly. Elmer, the Vietnam veteran whose speeding ticket he dismissed after hearing his story. It's why people started calling him, the Mr. Rogers and Bob Ross of the legal world.
Ah, that's quite the comparison.
But it fits, doesn't it? That calm, understanding presence, offering second chances right there on the bench.
It really does make you rethink what a courtroom can be, or maybe should be. We tend to picture them as these cold, adversarial places. So beyond these really powerful individual stories and the legal theory discussions, what do our sources tell us about the actual ripple effect that his individual kindness create a wider impact that, continues?
Well, I think his legacy powerfully illustrates that justice doesn't always have to mean cold, rigid enforcement. It just doesn't. It shows it can be a process that prioritizes understanding, that provides second chances, that actually addresses the complex human stuff behind the legal issue. His whole approach, rooted in compassion and empathy, it directly challenges that old legal saying, right? The law is reason, free from passion.
Right.
He kind of showed that maybe the most effective justice, the most resonant kind, happens when reason is tempered with humanity. He basically transformed the courtroom to the people in it, into a place where they actually felt heard and seen.
Yeah. You know, that idea you mentioned earlier about therapeutic judgments, it makes me think of something else from the sources. The fact that he could admit a mistake.
Mhm.
There's that case with the young woman. He apparently sort of chastised her initially. But then when he heard her full story, understood her situation, he apologized and offered her a reduced payment plan.
That takes humility, especially on the bench.
It's incredibly powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just reminds us that empathy, that active listening, they aren't just, soft skills or nice to haves. They seem like essential tools for navigating really complex situations with fairness, with dignity, for everyone involved. So it kind of leaves us and you listening with this final thought to mull over. What really stands out to you about Judge Caprio's legacy, and maybe how might his approach encourage you to think differently about fairness, about human connection, just in your own life, in your own interactions?